Uber, you've just got to stop. It's getting sad now.
Xbox, Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Google,
Facebook, eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin, the Apptrepreneur. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing below and ringing that bell. We talk about Uber, Lyft, the gig economy, apps in general, including the streaming wars. We upload content on a near daily basis, so you want to be notified when all that takes place. Now then, with that obligatory plug out of the way, because, you know, YouTube and them funny algorithm, Uber was in the news again. I mean, they're in the news pretty much every day. That's why there's almost always a daily Uber video. Sometimes there's, you know, a streaming wars video to complement the Uber video, but Uber is almost always being talked about on this channel. And this time, they've made an especially baffling argument. And to understand the context of this, for those of you who have not been watching for a long time, again, if you're new, consider subscribing, but Uber is trying to convince people that, well, not people, like the government specifically the California government, that their drivers are not employees because AB5 passed, and under this AB5 bill, more stringent rules for what constitutes as an employee and what constitutes as an independent contractor is now officially on the books. And right from the get-go, Uber said this should not affect us because we don't have employees, and we are very, very confident in the fact that we don't have employees. Which, of course, if they're so confident in that, why spend millions of dollars to, you know, fight the bill or put an initiative ballot on for the election? But, you know, whatever. Well, they do so many things. Like, I've actually lost track of how many times they've tried to convince people they are not what they are. They have actually tried to argue they're not a transportation service, which, you know, when you see on my honeymoon video, they even botched that one, but that they're a technology company, that they were a social media network, that they were a payment processor. And they have even said, like, drivers are not essential to our business, even though, yes, they are. However, this new argument is especially baffling, because their new argument is that they don't have any drivers. Really, you don't have any drivers. So I guess the lack of high surge in the last several months was just because less people needed rides. I guess that's what it was. It's not because you had too many drivers. It's because well, it's of course more complicated than that, but let's see what Uber's saying. So, if you've been living a life where you thought Uber had drivers, it's time to rethink your entire existence. In 2017, Uber executive Nicholas Valentino, the operations manager for the company's Atlanta operations at the time, repeatedly corrected the plaintiff's attorney in a case when the latter referred to the people operating cars on Uber's platforms as drivers, the Washington Post reported Monday. According to Valentino, they are not drivers. Oh, could have fooled me. I mean, those years that I was doing Uber, I always knew in my heart of hearts I was not a driver. I felt I was a cruiser. No. I felt I was a soda chauffeur. I chauffeured people around and I gave them a soda. I actually, no, maybe that's not it. I considered myself a mobile jukebox that people happen to get into, and I charge money. What are you talking about? Of course I was a driver. If that sounds like an off-the-cuff... Oh, sorry. Okay, instead, I skipped a sentence here. He wanted those individuals referred to as, quote, independent third-party transportation providers. Well, in all fairness, I wasn't that far off, to be honest. I mean, I was just thinking of those things off the cuff of my head, but whatever. If that sounds like an off-the-cuff remark, think again. Apparently, Valentino repeated the claim a total of 16 times in the course of the case. The case, Jessica Harris versus Uber, was filed by a woman who almost lost her leg when she was struck by a vehicle being operated on Uber's behalf that she claimed had veered off the road. In that same case, Uber was asked to admit or deny that Uber is in the business of providing transportation, to which the company's attorneys also repeatedly denied. Uber later settled the case out of court because that's a BS argument, that's why. But has maintained throughout a number of similar cases that it does not employ its drivers, going as far as to say about one driver that it, quote, never had an agency, employment, partnership, joint venture, or joint enterprise relationship with him. Well, I don't know about that, because I remember a time when the Uber driver app was actually called Uber Partner. And in fact, whenever Dara Khosrowshahi wants to, announce like a new app and not a pay raise, he calls Uber drivers Uber's partners, or he calls it their lifeblood. He certainly, I don't recall, I think he says that you drive for Uber, so if that doesn't make you a driver, I don't know what does. And essentially, if you're not a driver and you're not a partner and you're not someone who works for Uber, what is it that you do? Is Uber a hobby at that point for people? I guess it must be. And granted, it pays crummy enough that, yeah, you might as well consider it a hobby at this point. But this is just amazing. Now, this article ends with, like, gives you the warm fuzzies, right? Yeah, really, it does. So, yeah, this is, by the way, the Washington Post article. We got to pull it up. I forgot to bring it up, that they were talking about. And the whole article was basically about how Silicon Valley's company Word Games helped shelter the company from liability laws. And there was even one, there's one part of this that was like really funny, because the opposing attorney who was questioning Uber's attorney said, if you are going to keep saying they are not drivers, we are just going to be fussing about that all afternoon. And Valentino replied, that's okay. Because Uber doesn't want this to actually progress. They want you to stall. They want all of this to stall. They just do. By the way, I see an ad for the current war there. That movie was made 2 years ago. I wonder if that's any good. But yeah. And then you see things like this: fit driving into your life, not the other way around. But again, they're not drivers. Not drivers. They're not partners. They don't work for Uber. You essentially don't do anything for Uber, except give them more than 50% of your earnings, I guess. Well, okay, whatever. You know what? I've got other things to talk about today. Something that's probably a little bit more important, and this was kind of dug up from like a 2-year-old story. I just wanted to re-bring it to your attention, like, especially for everyone who like defends Uber. Like, this is what they do. This is what they do. I mean, it's I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't bring this up again, because AB5 has passed and it's going to be law soon, and it'll be one other argument they're going to use to try to convince you, like, no, you're not a driver. So whatever. So anyway, what do all of you folks think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, if gas prices are getting a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. And if you want more content from me, check out Kevin T. Rodriguez, the Apptrepreneur vlogs, and Autograph Hound. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers, check us out on Facebook at the Apptrepreneur Hangout. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.